75 Hard. This is a review. Let's just dive right in. I tried 75 Hard for the first time last year, and almost exactly a year ago, actually. It really came down to the wire. I really enjoyed 75 Hard. It taught me a lot of great lessons, and I stumbled on 75 Hard at pretty much the perfect time for me. The timing was just impeccable there. I have nothing but gratitude for discovering 75 Hard when I did. Now, with that said, there's a lot of things I like, and there's a few things that I didn't like about 75 Hard, so let's get into the review. Starting with things I liked. One of my favorite things about 75 Hard is that it can be a catalyst for change in your life. So for me personally, I had gained a lot of weight. I wasn't feeling healthy. I wasn't feeling optimistic about life in general. I felt drained. I knew what I should do, but just didn't have the energy to do it. I didn't have motivation. I'm sure we've all felt this way at one point in our life. So 75 Hard ended up becoming a great catalyst, something that got me going in the beginning, just long enough so that I was able to break through past bad habits and start to become healthy again. Another thing that I love about 75 Hard is that it demonstrates the power of consistency. Earlier on in the challenge, it's just hard, it's a lot, it overwhelms you. But around halfway or so, there gets to be a point where 75 Hard almost becomes easy and it almost becomes boring. And if you push through that phase, which for me was the hardest part, it really shows you that yes, it is boring, but that's where all the results come from. Consistency drives so many of your results. It's incredible. 75 Hard has this way of showing you instead of just telling you. And it was super important to me, it was super impactful, and it reminded me that yes, if you do 2 workouts a day, if you have proper nutrition, you eat in a caloric deficit, you're gonna lose weight and you're going to look better. Another thing that I really like about 75 Hard and how it's structured is that the way that it's built to have intentional inconvenience. You're not just going out and doing workouts as much as you can. It's like, well, no, they have to be 3 hours apart. They have to be 45 minutes. One has to be outside. What that does is it makes it so that every single day is inconvenient. And so in a way, it makes it so there's no super inconvenient days. All days are just inconvenient. It's the acceleration, it's the delta of change of difficulty that can be really hard. It's way harder in my experience to have 4 easy days and then 1 really hard day versus having 5 hard days in a row is actually, again, for me, simpler. And so 75 Hard does that part really, really well. In the beginning, when you're just getting started, you're just trying to get going, the fact that every single day is so hard makes it easier. Another thing I like about 75 Hard is just that one of the workouts has to be outside. 75 Hard shows you instead of telling you. It's like, yeah, this is the actual benefit of going outside. Another thing that I really appreciate about 75 Hard is just how difficult it is and how that in the beginning that actually, at least for me, made things really interesting and kept me from getting bored just long enough to get some momentum. And that excitement really gave me energy to actually push through and actually start building new habits as I went through. Another thing that I like about 75 Hard is, as I've kind of started to mention, instead of telling you things that you kind of already know, like dieting is useful, exercise is good for you, going outside is good for you, mental toughness is good, results come from, consistency. It doesn't tell you those things so much as it just shows you and it demonstrates it to you. So you kind of just get to buckle up and say, cool, I've decided to do 75 Hard, I'm in, I'm going to commit. Instead of hearing, yeah, going outside is good, makes you go outside. And then you get to kind of connect and feel, oh yeah, going outside is great. Really kind of starts to connect things for you so that you can feel and understand these lessons instead of, again, reading about them or hearing about them everywhere all the time, which for me never did anything, right? Knowing that going outside is healthy for you, I've read that a million times, it did nothing for me, right? It's like, sure, I know that, we all know these things, but we don't feel them, we're not connected to them, and 75 Hard really helps with that a lot, in my opinion. Adding to that, another thing that I really enjoy about 75 Hard is that 75 Hard is really good at showing you what you're capable of. So not only is it showing you all these lessons, it's actually demonstrating to you, look what you can achieve. When you first start 75 Hard, there's this feeling of, oh, that sounds almost impossible. Like, 2 workouts every day? What does that even mean? Like, how does that work whatsoever? And then you do it and you get this amazing feeling of, look what I can achieve. Really a great, powerful feeling that it gives you. Another thing that I really like about 75 Hard, and I think it indirectly does very well, is it starts to build up momentum. You have the concept of like, well, I've done 50 days. And I don't really want to start over. There's so many moments and so many days where if it was just day 1 or just another day in your life, you probably wouldn't want to, right? Like, you don't feel that connected to working out sometimes. Let's say you get sick. I got sick on day 72, I want to say, and I got really sick. I was throwing up a lot. And yeah, if that happens day one, or if that was any other day, not part of the challenge, I wouldn't have wanted to work out those days, right? But because the challenge dictates that you start over if you don't complete it every single day in a row, you start to build this value that you carry with you, and you build this momentum. You're X days in now, you don't want to start over. And then one of the final things that I really enjoyed about 75 Hard and how it's structured is that you get to pick your diet and you get to pick your workouts. You get to sort of pick a diet that meets your goals, that gets you to where you want to be, or that works best for you. Again, I think that was really helpful, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Okay, so now let's move on to some of the things that I didn't like. Right off the top, let's just talk about the 1 gallon of water. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a fitness expert, but I believe that 1 gallon of water is too much water for a lot of people to drink and be healthy. I love drinking water. I think everyone should drink a lot of water. I think this challenge helps shows you how important water is. And for a lot of people who may start the challenge and start working out way more than they're used to, it helps also show them, hey, you also have to drink water, right? I think it should stay as a task, but the fact that it's a one size fits all, everyone has to drink 1 gallon of water, I think that's overkill and a bit unhealthy. All right, moving on to the second thing that I don't like about 75 Hard, and that's just how unclear and inconsistent the rules are. You have to look in many different places. You have to listen to his podcast, you have to check his website, you have to look at the app, and even then you don't necessarily get a cohesive picture. I actually had to spend a lot of time looking through their subreddit, looking at the app, listening to the podcast a couple of different times, and even then, after all of that, there's still actually a lot of debate. Sometimes it's pretty heated in the community about what the actual rules are and if other people who's done 75 Hard and who hasn't. All of this could super easily be avoided by just having a very concise, clear understanding, a clear explanation of what the rules are in a singular place. Which leads me to another thing that sucks about 75 Hard, very directly related, and that's some people may start 75 Hard the wrong way. And while you can do 75 Hard or any challenge whatever way you would like, there's definitely a really bad feeling, and again, this is all feels so unnecessary. It's a really bad feeling if you're a person that's done 20 days and then you go to the subreddit, or you start to realize that, oh, wait a minute, one of the workouts had to be outside, or oh, wait a minute, the workouts had to be 3 hours apart, and then you're at day 20, and then what happens? And now you've technically not done the same challenge that the rest of the community has. Again, that may not be something you directly care about, but I have seen this happen. I've read online in forums, I've seen people get bummed, like, it's just disappointing. I've seen people be sad because you know, again, they've started a challenge, it's not quite the exact same challenge that everybody else was doing. The other downside to 75 Hard is it can create this unhealthy extremes. And what that means is it can be really difficult to actually continue progress and maintain your goals outside of 75 Hard. It teaches you how to follow a specific set of rules, but it doesn't necessarily teach you how to dynamically apply that to your life in a consistent and maintainable manner. So what that means is that for some people, it can be hard to transition from 75 Hard to something more sustainable in the long term that still gets you to your goals. The strength of 75 Hard, where you get to pick your own diet, is also a criticism I have, where if you don't know what you're doing and you're just new to the whole diet and fitness thing, it can be really hard figuring out what diet to pick, what diet is going to mix well with 75 Hard. All diets obviously are not created equal, and there's a lot that someone has to learn and take on in the very beginning and commit to that may not be the healthiest or may not be a good fit for them. And I think that continues to build into another criticism I have, which is that the 75 Hard challenge does require a little bit of knowledge around fitness. Not that you have to know fitness or diets before starting, but it is just really extra challenging if you don't. In conclusion, would I recommend 75 Hard? Yes. I'm not an expert, I'm not a professional, but I personally found 75 Hard to be a really awesome experience. I'm really glad I did the challenge. My life is definitely different for the better having done the challenge, and I would recommend it to a friend. Let me know if you've tried 75 Hard and what you feel about it, and yeah, leave that in the comments below and I will respond. I'd love to hear from you. I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. I intend to make even more 75 Hard videos in the future, and if you have opinions on 75 Hard, if you've completed 75 Hard or just tried it and it wasn't for you, I'd love to know. Please leave a comment down below. All right, good luck if you are just starting the challenge, and I will see you in the next video.